In our village, there's a saying, no animal should live past 20 years or it'll turn into a man-eating monster. Yesterday, the old goat we raised just turned 20. The villagers told my dad to kill it, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. That night, I saw the old goat standing outside my window. It was upright, staring straight at me. Today marked exactly 20 years since we started raising it. According to village tradition, we must kill it, then burn its body completely. My mom tried to convince my dad to kill the goat. My dad smoked anxiously, staring at the goat in silence. The goat seemed to sense our intentions, its golden horizontal pupils filled with tears. My dad's heart softened instantly, and he refused to kill it. When I found it in the mountains, it was just a little kid. But as I stared at the old goat, I couldn't shake my unease. I'd been afraid of it since childhood. Ever since the night I saw it standing upright when I went to the bathroom. It climbed out of the pen like a person and slipped into the chicken coop. Not long after, I heard crunching sounds coming from inside. Curious, I peeked through the crack in the coop door and saw the goat standing there, gripping a chicken and snapping its neck in one bite. I was so scared I nearly screamed. The goat seemed to sense my gaze and slowly turned its head. Its face was covered in blood, and its mouth kept moving. I scrambled back to my room, terrified. The next day, I came down with a high fever. No matter how I tried to tell my parents that the goat ate a chicken, they didn't believe me. They said I must have had a nightmare. Since then, I never dared to be alone with the goat again. No matter how much my mom and I pleaded, my dad refused to kill it. He even bought another goat that looked just like it and killed that one to fool the villagers. Meanwhile, he hid the old goat in the woodshed next to my room. Gently patting its head, my dad whispered, "Old fellow, stay quiet. If they find you, you'll be done for." The old goat seemed to understand and stayed completely silent, but I couldn't shake the fear inside me. Something felt wrong. Late that night, while I was sound asleep, I heard a strange sound. Footsteps, but not like a person's, nor like an animal's normal gait. It was as if something was deliberately tiptoeing. The moment that thought hit me, I snapped awake. The sound was coming from the woodshed, and it was getting closer to my room. A chill shot up from my feet. Tap, tap, tap. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, too scared to make a sound. "Jennifer, open the door for Mom. There's a thief in the house." My mom's voice came from outside. I froze. Her voice sounded strange, like she was pinching her throat, high-pitched and sharp. But hearing there was a thief, I instinctively got up to open the door. Still cautious, I lay down and peeked through the gap beneath the wooden door, a common feature in village homes. What I saw nearly scared the life out of me. It wasn't human feet, but a pair of goat hooves. Strangely, they were wearing a pair of children's shoes. I recognized the shoes. They belonged to Uncle Perez's youngest son, Juan, from next door. My mind was a mess of fear and confusion. Why were Juan's shoes on our old goat? And why was the goat speaking in my mother's voice? "Jennifer, open the door. Why won't you open the door?" The goat's sharp voice whined from outside. Cold sweat poured down my back. I bolted back onto the bed. After a while, the noise stopped. Had the goat left? Just as I was about to relax, I caught something in the corner of my eye. I turned my head stiffly and saw the old goat standing rigidly outside the window, tilting its head as it stared at me. Its mouth was stained with blood, dripping steadily. I could even feel that the goat was smiling. Terror overwhelmed me, and I blacked out. When I woke up, it was already morning. I rushed to the woodshed. The old goat was inside, calmly chewing on grass. Juan's shoes were gone from its feet. Only bits of grass clung to the fur around its mouth. No trace of blood. Was it all just a dream? The goat glanced up at me, but its gaze felt unsettling and sinister. Just then, I heard Uncle Perez's voice in the yard. He was anxiously asking my dad if he had seen Juan. My body trembled. Uncle Perez was nearly in tears. "I woke up this morning and found Juan missing. Where could a young boy run off to in the middle of the night? Jack, help me look for him." My dad nodded quickly and followed Uncle Perez out. I turned my head and saw the old goat peeking through the woodshed window, as if eavesdropping on their conversation. My skin crawled. I grabbed a shovel and stormed into the woodshed. I searched every corner but found nothing related to Juan. Lowering my voice, I snarled at the goat. "Did you eat Juan?" The goat opened its mouth, mimicking a human smile. A cold shiver shot up my spine. Just then, my dad returned, his face grim. The whole village had been searched, but Juan was nowhere to be found. After hesitating, I told him everything I saw last night. My dad's face darkened. "Jennifer, don't say such things. If someone hears you, I've raised that goat for years. It's always been docile. How could it possibly eat people?" He refused to believe me. Left with no choice, I kept silent. That afternoon, my uncle from the city came over with his daughter Emily. He and his wife had a fight, so they came to our house to cool off for a few days. Emily, who grew up in the city, loved animals. When she heard my dad mention the old goat in the woodshed, she dashed right in. Worried, I quickly followed her. The goat licked Emily's exposed arm, its eyes gleaming with greed. Fearing for Emily, I pulled her away. That night, Emily slept with me. We rarely saw each other, so we chatted excitedly late into the night. Suddenly, I heard that same tiptoeing sound from the night before. My face instantly went pale. I whispered to Emily, "No matter what you hear, don't go outside." Emily looked puzzled. "Why? What's going on?" Just then, my uncle's voice came from outside, sounding urgent. "Emily, hurry! We need to go home! Your mom's threatening to kill herself!" Emily panicked and jumped out of bed to open the door. I stopped her quickly and pointed at the door gap. "Look through it. Check if that's really your dad outside." Emily shot me a suspicious glance but crouched down anyway. She mumbled, "What are you talking about?" "That's my dad's legs out there." I quickly joined her and peeked out. Sure enough, I saw a pair of human legs. He was even wearing the same leather shoes Uncle Perez wore that afternoon. Could it really be him? But something felt off. Suddenly, a horrible thought struck me. Uncle Perez was a grown man, his legs wouldn't be that thin. The legs I saw were slender, like a child's. My scalp tingled. Could the old goat have taken Juan's legs, disguised them as human legs to trick us into opening the door? The thought terrified me. "Emily, don't go out there. That's not your dad." Emily got mad. "You're crazy! Why won't you let me go to my dad?" "Didn't you hear my mom's in trouble?" Ignoring me, she opened the door. With a creak, it swung open. No one was outside. A gust of cold wind made us both shiver. "Dad?" Emily called out. Then, not far away, came her dad's voice. "I'm over here." His voice was low and muffled, as if he was speaking through something. I saw my uncle standing behind a door pillar, his body entirely hidden behind Juan. Only his head stuck out. In the dark, his face looked deathly pale, as if drained of all blood. Cold sweat soaked my back. "Emily, come here. Come quickly." He extended a hand, waving stiffly, as though someone was holding his arm from behind and swinging it up and down. I was terrified and held Emily back. "Jennifer, what's wrong with you tonight? Why won't you let me go to my dad? Didn't you hear my mom's in danger?" Emily questioned angrily. I didn't know how to explain. My head was drenched in sweat. Even if I told her the goat might be a man-eater, she wouldn't believe me. Emily pushed me aside and ran toward her dad. I desperately tried to pull her back. Suddenly, my mom's voice rang out. "What are you two doing out here in the middle of the night?" Emily froze. At the same time, I realized the figure behind the pillar had disappeared. "Auntie?" My dad was just standing there calling me. Emily pointed at the pillar. But then she froze too. "He was right here just now." My mom walked over, confused. "I came out to use the bathroom and saw you two standing here." She glanced in the direction Emily pointed. "There's no one there." I saw Emily's body tremble. She fell silent. My mom urged us back to bed. We obediently returned to my room. Back inside, I noticed Emily's face had gone completely pale, her lips quivering. If that wasn't my dad, then what was it? I told her it was the old goat she petted during the day. In our village, any animal over 20 years old has to be killed. My dad couldn't bear to do it. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. Now that old goat may have turned into a man-eating monster. Emily panicked. "You don't think my dad's already been killed by the goat, do you? I was at a loss for words. I honestly didn't know how to answer. What we saw earlier behind the doorpost did look wrong, like a dead man standing there. Could it have been the old goat holding up Uncle Perez's head? Standing there, I shuddered. I need to check on my dad. Emily insisted on going to see if her dad was okay. I tried to persuade her to wait until morning, but she argued. If it was your dad, could you just sit here and do nothing? I was speechless. If you won't go with me, I'll go myself. Emily walked to her dad's room and pushed the door open with a creak. The door wasn't locked. Since the light wasn't on, I could barely make out a person lying on the bed, chest rising and falling. Emily let out a sigh of relief. My dad's alive. Once we confirmed her dad was safe, we planned to head back to bed. Just as Emily closed the door, I caught a glimpse of her uncle sitting straight up in bed. His silhouette looked strangely bloated. I froze, a chill running down my back. On the way back, I tugged at Emily's sleeve and whispered, "Emily, your dad's not overweight, right?" "My dad's skinny. Why are you bringing this up?" My voice trembled. "But didn't the person we saw lying in bed earlier look really fat?" Emily stopped walking and started shaking. "Yeah, my dad's never been that fat." Emily turned to me, her face pale, lips quivering. "What if that old goat killed my dad and crawled inside his skin?" Her words made goosebumps rise all over my arms. Emily bit her lip, her face dark. "Let's go check the woodshed. If the goat's still there, we'll know." She had a point. We huddled close together and crept toward the woodshed. The door was slightly ajar. We exchanged a fearful glance. Emily cautiously pushed the door open. There was no sign of the old goat inside. Emily's face instantly darkened. This meant our guess was probably true. Seeing Emily on the verge of tears, I didn't know what to say. She bit her lip hard. "I'm going to kill that goat! I'll avenge my dad!" "But it's already a monster. You're no match for it," I said anxiously. But Emily was determined to go to her dad's room and kill the goat. She marched forward, and I couldn't stop her. Worried for her safety, I started shouting. My parents woke up, rubbing their eyes as they came out. "What are you two doing screaming in the middle of the night?" The moment Emily saw them, she burst into tears. "Uncle, Auntie, my dad's been eaten. That old goat ate him." My parents froze at her words. "What nonsense are you talking about?" My dad's face turned grim. How could the old goat eat people? He still didn't believe it. "If you don't believe me, check my dad's room," Emily cried. My parents hesitated, but went to her uncle's room. They opened the door and saw Uncle sound asleep, looking no different than usual. Startled awake, he yawned. "Why aren't you all asleep? What are you doing here?" "Dad, are you okay?" Emily threw herself onto him. She carefully checked him for injuries. There were none. His face and voice were normal, like nothing had happened. But both Emily and I clearly saw his bloated figure earlier. Emily murmured, "Maybe we really saw it wrong." But the old goat had definitely vanished from the woodshed. My dad panicked when he heard the goat was missing. Could it have gone into the village? If anyone sees it, they'll kill it for sure. He rushed toward the woodshed. We followed. When we arrived, the old goat was somehow back inside, fast asleep with its eyes closed. My dad let out a sigh of relief and scolded us for making up stories. "All right, you two go back to bed and stop overthinking." My mom waved us off. Emily and I reluctantly returned. Before the woodshed door closed, I glanced back, and that glance sent chills all over me. The old goat had somehow opened its eyes. Its body stood upright, pressed against the door crack, staring at us. The way it looked at me was terrifying. When our eyes met, it grinned at me with a sinister smile. I vaguely saw sharp, pointed teeth growing inside its mouth, stained with dark red residue. Cold sweat broke out all over me, and I quickly looked away. Emily and I returned to our room. Though it was nearly 3 a.m., we lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Suddenly, Emily whispered, "Jennifer, do you think that was really my dad?" A word sent another shiver through me. "Emily, it was dark. Maybe we really saw it wrong," I said, my voice trembling. In the dark, Emily's eyes gleamed strangely. But when I touched my dad's body, it didn't feel like human skin. It felt like slick, rotten pork. A chill ran through me. "Emily, stop it! You're scaring me!" My arms broke out in goosebumps. Emily suddenly turned her head and stared at me. Her voice floated softly. Jennifer, have you ever heard of a creature called a skin-shedding goat? I shook my head, but trembled again for no reason. Emily's voice was quiet, yet chilling. You said animals over 20 become monsters. I just remembered something my neighbor's grandpa told me when I was little. There's a kind of goat demon called a skin-shedding goat. It secretly peels off people's skins and wears them. It mimics everything about the person it skinned, even their memories. Sometimes, you can't even tell who around you has been skinned. They say once it collects 6 skins, it can fully transform into a human into the last person it skinned. A chill crept down my spine. Maybe it was my imagination, but the room felt colder. Emily stared straight at me, her pupils growing narrower and narrower. Jennifer, do you think I might be the one who was skinned? I nearly jumped out of bed. Emily, don't scare me like that. I'm serious. If you keep this up, I'll be mad. I'm telling the village chief tomorrow. We need to kill that old goat. I was terrified. My fear turned into anger. How could she joke at a time like this? But Emily stayed silent, her face blank. Her black pupils slowly shrank into narrow slits. That's when I noticed a faint scar on her neck. Jennifer, I've wanted to taste your flesh since the day you were born. Her sharp, thin voice came from her throat, mixed with heavy panting. Like an animal struggling to mimic human speech. I turned to run. Suddenly, a goat's head slowly emerged from inside Emily's skin. I screamed and woke up. What the hell are you screaming for? You woke me up! Emily rubbed her eyes impatiently. She glared at me, looking perfectly normal. I jumped off the bed and back toward the door, staring at her like she was a ghost. What's wrong with you? Emily asked, confused. I glanced at her neck, smooth and uninjured. Was it really just a dream? Did you ever tell me about the skin-shedding goat? I asked. Emily looked puzzled. What are you talking about? I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like a dream, but I knew that no matter what, that old goat couldn't be allowed to live. I was going to tell the village chief everything. Just then, my mom called us for breakfast. Emily and I went to the kitchen, where Uncle was calmly eating porridge. I'm telling you, Emily's mom can't cook like you. Uncle praised my mom's porridge. He looked completely normal. I stared at his neck carefully. No wound. Was last night really just our imagination? Uncle noticed us staring and touched his face. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? I quickly said no. Uncle slurped his porridge like he couldn't feel the heat at all. Distracted, I sipped my porridge while sneaking glances at him. Suddenly, I saw his eyes, which had been looking forward, suddenly shift to the corners and fix on me. For a brief moment, his pupils turned into 2 thin black slits. My hand shook, almost spilling my hot porridge. Uncle returned to normal as if nothing had happened. My lips trembled as I tried to tell Emily, but to my surprise, Emily's face had gone pale, and she was sweating, even more than I was. She quickly pulled me up, and we ran outside. Huh? Why aren't you girls eating? My mom called after us. But Emily didn't stop. She dragged me to a corner, panting heavily. Before I could say anything, Emily spoke, her face full of terror. I saw it too. I saw my dad's eyes change. In broad daylight, we both broke out in cold sweat. What do we do? Emily asked fearfully. We're going to find the village chief, I said firmly. At this point, I no longer cared about my dad's foolish feelings. If he kept refusing to kill the old goat, our whole family would be slaughtered by it. I took Emily to the village chief's house. Both he and his wife were there. We called the chief's wife Megan. Megan used to tell fortunes when she was young and knew a bit about these things. When she saw us, her eyes narrowed. Grandma, my dad didn't kill the old goat. I told the whole story to the village chief and Megan. The chief's face changed instantly. He took a deep drag from his pipe and said, "How could your dad be so foolish?" Megan shook her head. It's not entirely Jack's fault. He's raised that goat for so long, its influence has probably clouded his mind. For a goat to live this long, it must have become a demon already. Controlling your father's mind would be easy for it. Your uncle and Juan are already beyond saving. Their skins have been peeled off by that goat. This isn't just any demon, it's a skin-shedding goat. Once it collects 6 skins, it can fully transform into a human and live on as the last person it skinned. Megan glanced at Emily, who was already dazed. I was stunned because what Megan said was exactly like what Emily told me in my dream. Emily's eyes turned red, tears pouring out. My dad is dead, she sobbed. Seeing how heartbroken she was made me feel deeply guilty. If my dad had agreed to kill the goat earlier, Uncle wouldn't have died, and Juan would still be alive. Megan rasped, That goat must be killed. Old man, go fetch the butcher from town. The chief was confused. Why call a butcher just to kill a goat? Only the butcher's killing blade can deal with a demon goat, she explained. The blade carried heavy killing aura that could subdue the demon. The chief nodded and left. But our village was remote. Even by car, it took over 2 hours to reach the town. Megan squinted. Emily, step outside for a moment. I need to speak with Jennifer alone. Emily gave me a worried look, but obediently left. I didn't understand why Megan dismissed Emily. Megan said, Jennifer, don't be too scared by what I'm about to tell you. Emily has already been possessed by the goat. She's just a skin now. My face went pale in an instant. Megan pointed to the wind chime on the door. When we entered, it rang. Megan told me this wasn't an ordinary wind chime. Because she had helped many people troubled by ghosts and demons when she was young, some wandering spirits resented her. This wind chime could detect whether someone entering was alive or not. If an evil thing entered, it would ring. At that moment, I was overwhelmed. I had no idea when Emily was skinned. Megan asked if I had fallen asleep again last night. I nodded. She said Emily was likely skinned while I slept. That dream I had was real. It was already the 3rd skin the demon goat had taken. If it got 3 more, it would fully transform into a human. Megan asked who I thought its final target was. My whole body went cold. I pointed to myself. Including my parents' 2 skins, mine would be the 6th. It was planning to replace me. I dropped to my knees, begging Megan to save my family. Megan said once the chief returned with the butcher, she would perform a ritual to destroy the goat. I hurriedly asked what to do about my parents. What if Emily tries to kill my parents? Megan handed me a dark yellow talisman. Keep this on you, it'll temporarily protect your parents from being skinned, she said. I thanked Megan, hid the talisman in my clothes, and walked out. Emily hadn't left. She was waiting at the door. When she saw me, she rushed over, asking what Megan had said. I instinctively stepped back, but tried not to make it obvious. I forced a smile, though I desperately wanted to skin that demon goat alive. Because it had even killed my dear Emily. Megan just warned me that your dad might try to stop us during the ritual. Since he's already dead, she told me to keep an eye on you. This explanation made sense, so Emily believed it. I deliberately kept some distance from Emily, but she didn't notice. Suddenly, she hesitated and said, Jennifer, do you think maybe one of the village chief or Megan is actually the demon goat in disguise? I sneered inwardly. The goat was still trying to sow discord. Emily suddenly grabbed my arm, startling me so much I almost screamed. But she didn't hurt me instead. She dragged me to a window at the chief's house. I clearly saw hoof prints on the window ledge. Do you think the goat snuck into the chief's house last night? Emily said fearfully. Since it came through the window, the wind chime didn't ring. The thought that the goat might have already skinned them both haunted me. The talisman Megan gave me grew warm inside my clothes. Was this talisman really protecting me? And what if the chief didn't go to town but was just stalling for time? The more I thought, the colder I felt. But I couldn't fully trust Emily either. Between her and the chief and Megan, one of them was surely the demon. My biggest concern now was my parents' safety. I rushed home. Hey, wait for me. Emily quickly followed. When I got home, I saw my mom doing laundry in the yard and my dad sunbathing on a lounge chair. I breathed a sigh of relief, but still wasn't sure if I should throw away the talisman. Was it protecting me or putting me in danger? Dad, where's Uncle? I asked. My dad pointed to the woodshed. He's with the old goat. I ran to the woodshed. The old goat was long gone. On the ground was a thin layer of human skin. It was Uncle's. Now, whose skin was the goat wearing? An intense unease surged through me. Dad! Emily arrived and burst into tears at the sight of the skin. Watching her sob uncontrollably, I couldn't tell if she was real or the goat in disguise. My parents rushed over when they heard her crying. My mom saw the skin and collapsed to the ground in terror. How could this happen? My dad's face turned deathly pale, mumbling to himself. My mom slapped him while crying. Emily's dad was eaten by the goat. It really became a demon. I told you to kill it back then, but you refused. Everything Jennifer said was true. Juan must have been eaten too. How could you face Emily? My dad lowered his head, eyes red, slapping himself repeatedly. It's my fault. Back then, I stubbornly refused to kill that goat. But now that thought is gone. I knew it wasn't entirely my dad's fault. He spent the most time with the goat and was surely influenced by it. I said, I've already told the chief and Megan. They'll bring the butcher to kill it. Hearing this finally calmed my mom a little. After this, we must personally apologize to Perez next door. Whatever he asks, I, Jack, will give my all to make it right, my dad said with gritted teeth, eyes red. My mom nodded. He lost his son because of us. Even if it costs our lives, it's worth it. Suddenly, I noticed Emily secretly watching me, or rather, watching what was hidden inside my clothes. I instantly realized the goat was hiding inside Emily, trying to trick me into discarding the talisman. If I threw it away, the goat would emerge from Emily's body immediately. I quickly clutched my clothes, hiding the talisman tightly. Seeing my reaction, Emily's face visibly darkened. She stopped pretending and stared at me with venomous eyes. Just then, the village chief's voice came from outside. He had returned with the town butcher. I was overjoyed. Emily panicked and tried to run, but I pounced on her, pinning her down. I was stronger and held her firmly. My parents were confused. Megan walked in, her cloudy eyes fixed on the struggling Emily. You've devoured 3 people. It's time for you to be destroyed. My parents stared at Emily in shock. Emily was eaten too? They trembled. Megan nodded. Emily struggled more violently. I could barely hold her. Then the butcher stepped forward, holding a rooster. The butcher slit the rooster's throat, spraying blood onto Emily's face. She screamed, and her skin began to burn. Megan sprinkled glutinous rice onto her face, making her writhe in pain. I quickly got off her. She rolled on the ground, howling in agony. Soon, her body deflated, like a leaking balloon, leaving only a layer of skin. Then, the old goat crawled out from inside her skin and tried to run. The butcher was quick. With one swift strike, he chopped off the goat's head. With a final scream, its head hit the ground. Seeing the demon finally dead, I let out a long breath of relief. It was over. My parents thanked Megan and the butcher profusely, nearly falling to their knees. Megan waved them off and held out her hand to me. Jennifer, give me back the talisman. In that moment, I seemed to hear someone shouting, "Don't give it to her!" I looked around, confused. No one was speaking. Megan urged me, Jennifer, hurry. It took me great effort to make that talisman. I can't make another. I need to keep it to help others. I nodded and handed her the talisman. Suddenly, I sensed something wrong. The air seemed to drop 10 degrees. I saw Megan, the chief, the butcher, even my parents all staring at me. They stared intently, strange smiles on their faces. W? What's wrong? I asked, terrified. Then I saw their pupils transform, all shrinking into thin black slits. Jennifer, I've wanted to taste your flesh since you were born. They all spoke in sharp, high-pitched voices. I was paralyzed. The old goat was supposed to be dead. I couldn't understand. The 5 of them crept closer. Their faces turned into the goat's face, drooling and panting heavily. Megan's POV. After I gave Jennifer the talisman, I sensed something was wrong. The skin-shedding goat is wicked. I feared it might trick Jennifer. I rushed out. Though I wasn't strong enough to defeat it, I had to at least protect her. But when I arrived, Jennifer and Emily were gone. I hurried to Jennifer's house and saw her standing there, speaking to her parents' 2 skins. Emily stood nearby, her head fully transformed into a goat's face. My heart sank. Jennifer had fallen into the goat's illusion. Jennifer, give me back the talisman, I shouted desperately. Don't give it to her! I charged forward, but it was too late. Jennifer handed over the talisman. In an instant, the goat opened its mouth and bit down on Jennifer's head. I screamed and tried to fight it, but I was no match for the demon that had devoured 6 people. The goat transformed into Jennifer's appearance and escaped. By the time the chief and butcher arrived, it was long gone. After devouring the 6th person, the skin-shedding goat fully transformed into its final victim. It was now human. Even if I saw it again, I would never recognize it.